in the past and have grown the least are the ones who were the proudest, because they sort of feel like they already had the answers, and so they don't want to correct themselves publicly. And so this goes back to the fame conversation. You get locked into something you said, it made you famous, you're known for that, and now you want to pivot or change. So pride prevents you from saying, I'm wrong.
What's pride in this context here?
It could be as simple as you're trading stocks and then you don't admit you were wrong, so you hang on to a lousy trade. It could be that you made a decision to marry someone or move somewhere or enter a profession, and it doesn't work out, and then you don't admit that you were wrong, so you get stuck in it. It's mostly about getting trapped in local maxima as opposed to going back down and climbing up the mountain again.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's an expensive trade, because you continue to need to repay it in one form or another.
Yeah, you're just stuck at a suboptimal point. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you success.
And time.
The great artists always have this ability to start over, whether it's Paul Simon or Madonna or U2, and I'm dating myself a little bit. But even the great entrepreneurs, they're just always willing to start over. I'm always struck by the Elon Musk story where, he did PayPal as X.com originally. Actually, it was his financial institution that got merged into PayPal.
Well, it's good that you've got the domain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll park that. I'll hold on to it.
He's consistent. He's been using it for quite a while. And he said something like along the lines of, I made $200 million from the sale of PayPal. I put $100 million into SpaceX, $80 million into Tesla, $20 million into Solar City, and I had to borrow money for rent. Right? This guy is a perennial risk taker. He's always willing to start over. He doesn't have any pride about being seen as successful or being seen as a failure. He's willing to put it all on the line.
Back himself again each time.
But the key thing is he's always willing to start over. Right? Even now when he's sort of made his new startup is a USA, right? He's basically trying to fix it like he would fix one of his startups. And I think that is a willingness to look like a fool, and that is a willingness to start over. And a lot of people just don't have that. They become successful, or they become rich, or they become famous, and that's it. They're stuck. They don't want to go back to zero. And creating anything great requires 0 to 1. And that means you go back to zero. And that's really painful and hard to do.
Talking about risk, something I've been thinking about a lot to do with you. Any moment when you're not having a good time, when you're not really happy, you're not doing anyone any favors. I think lots of people have become unusually familiar with suffering silently in that sort of a way, not having a high bar for your expectation for quality of life.
A lot of it is just you're memeing yourself into a bad outcome because you think that somehow suffering is glorious, or that it makes you a better person. Or, my old quip was, if you're so smart, why aren't you happy? Why can't you figure that one out? The reality is you can be smart and happy. There are plenty of people in human history who are smart and happy. And I think it just starts with saying, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be happy. There was a guy that I met in Thailand a long time ago, and he used to work for Tony Robbins. He had a great attitude. And we were sitting around, and he said, I realized one day that someone out there had to be the happiest person in the world. Like that person just has to exist. He said, why not me? I'll take on that burden. I'll be that guy. And I heard that and I was like, wow, that's pretty good. That's a good frame, right? Mm-hmm. He knew how to reframe things. And so I think a lot of happiness is just a choice in the sense that you just identify yourself as, actually, I'm going to be a person that's going to be happy. I'm going to figure it out. And you just figure it out along the way. You're not going to lose your other predilections. You're not going to lose your ambition or your desire for success. I think a lot of people have this fear that, if I'm happy, then I won't want to be successful. No, you'll just want to do things that are more aligned with the happy version of you, and you'll be successful at those things. And believe me, the happy version of you is not going to look back at the unhappy version and say, oh man, that guy was going to be more
success. I wish that I was him.
You're actually trying to be successful so you'll be happy. That's the whole point. You've gotten it backwards.
You unlocked one of my trap cards. One of my favorite insights is that we sacrifice the thing we want for the thing that's supposed to get it. So we sacrifice happiness in order to be successful, so that when we're finally sufficiently successful, we can actually be happy. And if you have some sort of simultaneous equation, and you just sort of stripped success off from both sides.
At least in my own life, I have not found there to be a trade-off. If anything, I have found that the happier I get, the more I am going to do the things that I'm good at and aligned with, and that will make me even happier. And so I actually end up more successful, not less.
The aligned with thing is interesting. I'm going to try and put this across as delicately as I can. I would say, from the bit of time that we've spent together, you have a really interesting trait of holistic selfishness. You're sort of prepared to put yourself first. You seem largely unfazed by saying or doing things that might result in other people feeling a little bit awkward if it's truthful for you. It's like unapologetically self-prioritizing, I guess.
Yeah, I think everybody is. Maybe unapologetic is the part that's relatively rare, but I think everybody puts themselves first. That's just human nature. You're here because you survive. You're a separate organism.
That's interesting. Maybe, but
I know we like to virtue signal and pretend we're doing it for each other.
How many times does somebody say, "Yeah, of course, I'd love to come to the wedding"? And they're like, "I don't want to be at the fucking wedding."
Yeah.
How many times does someone say, "How are you doing today?" And they don't tell you.
I don't go to weddings.
But this is my point.
Right.
So I don't think you're necessarily right with that. I think that people do. I don't think they put themselves first. I sometimes think that they compromise what it is that they want in order to appease socially what's in front of them.
Yeah, I just view it as everyone's wasting their time on it. Don't do something you don't want to do. Why are you wasting your time? There's so little time on this earth. Life goes fast. What is it, 4,000 weeks? That's your lifespan. And yes, we hear that, but we don't remember it. But I guess I'm keenly aware of how little time I have, so I'm just not going to waste it.
How have you got more comfortable at being the unapologetic self-prioritizer?
Yeah, I've gotten utterly more and more ruthless on it. Mainly, it's that I see or hear people's freedom, and then that liberates me further. So I read a blog post by P. Marca, aka Mark Andreessen, where he said, "Don't keep a schedule," and I took that to heart. So I deleted my calendar, and I don't keep a schedule. I try to remember it all in my head. If I can't remember it, I'm not going to add it to my schedule. I'm glad you got here on time. Yeah, exactly. I had to look things up at the last minute. But ironically, I don't even know if Mark himself follows that, but he made the correct point. I read a little story about Jack Dorsey doing all his business off his iPhone and iPad and not even going into a Mac. And I said, okay, I want to do that. So I'm going to operate through text messaging and I put up my nasty email.
Does that feel like more freedom?
It does, yeah, because you're on the go. So I have a nasty email autoresponder that says I don't check email and don't text me either, right? If you need to find me, you'll find me. Obviously, some of this is a luxury of success, but some of these habits I adopted long before, actually. The hostile email autoresponder started a long time ago. I used to own the domain. I let it go.
Don't do coffee.com.
I don't do coffee.com. I used to reply from that email just so people would get the point. But I stopped being rude about it. Now I just ghost. I just disappear. My wife knows not to ever book or schedule me for anything. I'm not expected to go to couples dinners. I'm not expected to go to birthdays. I'm not expected to go to weddings. If somebody tries to rope her into having me show up, she says he makes his own decisions. You got to ask him directly.
What about
and vice versa?
Well, are you not killing serendipity in a way there?
No, I'm freeing up all my time, so my entire life is serendipity. I get to interact with whoever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want.
So you'll hear the invite, but make the decision? Because if there's fewer things incoming, you're assuming that you know what's best for you all the time.
I don't commit to anything in the future. So I'll say, okay, if that thing is interesting, I'll see if I can get in that day when I'm in the mood. But there's nothing worse than something coming up that your past self committed you to, that your present self doesn't want to do.
God damn it, past Naval.
And then it destroys your entire calendar. It destroys your day because there's like, this 1 hour slot, which is sitting like a turd on my calendar that I have to like schedule my whole day around. I can't do anything at 20 minutes before, the 20 minutes afterwards. Yeah. Even for phone calls, if someone wants to do a phone call, say, okay, just text me when you're free. I'll text you when I'm free and we'll just do it on the fly. It's a much better way of living than this overly scheduled, cal.com or iCal, whatever.
Well, is that the overscheduled life is not worth living?
It's not. I think it's a terrible way to live life. That's not how we evolved. It's not how we grew up. It's not how we were as children, hopefully, unless you have a helicopter parent or a tiger mom. Your natural order is freedom. I had a friend who said to me once, I never want to have to be at a specific place at a specific time. And I was like, oh my God, that's freedom. When I heard that, that changed my life right there.
You still alarm clockless?
Yes, I'm alarm clockless. Today I did set my alarm clock just so I wouldn't miss
Very
this.
important. Yeah,
but just so you know, I set the alarm clock from 11 a.m. in case I was stricken with the flu and slept in. I wasn't going to set my alarm clock for 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. And sure enough, I got up many hours before that.
Yeah.
But it was sort of a backup emergency alarm. In fact, sometimes when I have something that I need to do, I don't want to look at a calendar, so I'll just set an alarm for it.
Just sink a little bit more into that Like kind of like that fuck you energy, that self-prioritizing energy, because I think people rationally love the idea of this. I'm going to do what only I want to do, even if they've got the level of freedom.
It's not fuck you energy in the sense that I think everyone should live their life that way to the greatest extent possible. Obviously, we have our requirements around work and obligations that are genuinely important to us, but don't fritter away your life on randomly scheduled things and on things that aren't important, don't matter, and events and weddings and tedious dinners with tedious people that you don't want to go to. To the extent you can bring freedom into your life, optimize for that, you'll actually be more productive. You won't just be happier, more free. You will be more productive because then you can focus on what is in front of you, whatever the biggest problem of that day. When I wake up in the morning, the first 4 hours are when I have the most energy. And that's when I want to solve all the hard problems. And the next 4 hours are when I kind of want to, do some more outdoorsy activities, or I want to work out, or maybe I can, have some meetings, but I'll try to do those last second based on whatever the day's priorities demand. The last 4 hours, I kind of want to wind down. I want to hang out with the kids and I want to play games or read a book or something like that. So having that flexibility and freedom is really important. So you can just put whatever is most needed into the slot at that moment. And instead, if I have like a meeting at 2 p.m. and then I have to like get a thing and some emails done, I put that off till 6 p.m. and I'm rushing, I'm not going to be productive. I'm not going to be...
You're certainly not free.
I'm definitely not free. But also, another thing that I really believe is that inspiration is perishable. Act on it immediately. So when you're inspired to do something, do that thing. If I'm inspired to write a blog post, I want to do it at that moment. If I'm inspired to send a tweet, I want to do it at that moment. If I'm inspired to solve a problem, I want to do it at that moment. If I'm inspired to read a book, I want to read it right then. If I'm inspired to solve a problem, I'll solve it right there. If I want to learn something, I do it at the moment of curiosity. The moment the curiosity arrives, I go learn that thing immediately. I download the book, I get on Google, I get on ChatGPT, whatever. I will figure that thing out on the spot. And that's when the learning happens. It doesn't happen because I've scheduled time, because I've set an hour aside, because when that time arrives, I might be in a different mood. I might just want to do something different. So I think that spontaneity is really important. You're going to learn best when you're having fun, when you generally are enjoying the process, not when you're forced to sit there and do it. How much do you remember from school? You were forced to learn geography, history, mathematics on this schedule at this time according to this person. Didn't happen. All the stuff that sticks with you is you learned it when you wanted to, when you genuinely had the desire. And that freedom, that ability to act on something the moment you want to is so liberating that most of us go through our lives with very, very little tastes of that. If you can live your entire life that way, that is a recipe for happiness.
It feels like efficiency. That you have
efficient also.
You have the inspiration that is going to be the most frictionless time to ever do that particular task. So, I've had the inspiration to do that. I'll put that off until a time when I no longer really want to do it quite so much. And while I do want to do that thing, I'll do something else that I needed to do because it's on the schedule.
It does not work. Procrastination is because you don't want to do that thing right now. You want to do something else. Go do that something else. I reject this frame that efficiency and productivity and success are counter to happiness and freedom. They actually go together.
How so?
The happier you are, the more you can sustain doing something, the more likely you're going to do something that will in turn make you even happier, and you'll continue to do it and you'll outwork everybody else. The more free you are, the better you can allocate your time, and the less you're caught up in a web of obligations and commitments, and the more you can focus on the task at hand.
In other news, this episode is brought to you by Function. Staying on top of your health requires more than just an annual physical, which is why I partnered with Function. They run lab tests twice a year that track over 100 biomarkers and monitor for early signs of thousands of diseases. They even screen for 50 types of cancer at stage 1, which is 5 times more data than you get from an annual physical. You receive insights from a team of expert physicians who provide a detailed written clinician summary of all their observations and then phone consultations for any critical findings. Getting these lab tests done would usually cost thousands, but with Function, it is only $499. And right now, you can get the exact same blood panels that I get and bypass their waitlist by going to the link in the description below or heading to functionhealth.com/modernwisdom. That's functionhealth.com/modernwisdom. This is related to another insight of yours. The less you want something, the less you're thinking about it, the less you're obsessing over it, the more you're going to do it in a natural way. The more you're going to do it for yourself, you're going to do it in a way that you're good at, and you're going to stick with it. The people around you will see the quality of your work is higher. But this seems like a difficult tension to navigate because an obsessive attention to detail is a competitive advantage of your work as well. So you have these two things sort of conflicting with each other.
No one is going to beat you at being you. One of the things I like to say is like, find what feels like play to you, but looks like work to others. So it looks like work to them.